Hi everyone, this is Wednesday's class. We reviewed some things. We talked about performance within the computer, and so we highlighted some items, and I'll make note of those. The processor is in the mix, how much memory you have, your clock speed, how many bits the processor can manage, what's the word length, what is the software ability in terms of the operating system. Can it handle 64-bit or is it a 32-bit? How much memory you have, the clock speed of the computer. And the idea is, and this is a little review, as memory fills up, you got the operating system in there, then you load your applications, and then you load your data. Eventually, if that gets full, the computer might have to start use virtual memory. Windows uses the term of a page file, paging in and out. Linux uses the term swap file. Either way, some code or some part of what we need to use is kept here. It has to be brought in, something else taken out, and so forth. And we talked about some of the issues with what would make the performance of the computer slow. Next thing we said also, graphics cards that have processors on them and memory on them to manage that information going out to a display. Vastly help the performance, especially if you're doing things like CAD or gaming or Photoshop, things that are more intensive for the machine to work with. We already mentioned ports, and there's a power supply in there that supplies a DC voltage. We talked also about storage. We said magnetic storage. We talked about storing magnetic spots on a platter. You have a disk and you put magnetic spots divided up into sectors, and information stored inside those, and the computer can keep track of where it's at. That's typically how hard drives do that, and those hard drives can be inside the box, or they could be a hard drive that you plug in externally, maybe using a USB port. That would not be so unusual. We can also store things by burning spots onto a disk, by actually burning them into the disk to represent the ones and zeros. And that's read with lasers. So that would be an optical, or what we call optical storage. We use some form of light to put the information on and get it back off. Typically, getting information on and off magnetic is much faster. Optic, you might be able to store more in a certain amount of space on the disk. Optical's handy. Most of those are DVDs. You can take them out, transport them, and typically the information's burnt in there, will stay in there forever if you take care of the disk. Whereas magnetic information, if subject to a magnetic field, could be changed. And it could degrade over time. So magnetic isn't perfect storage for long term. New concept of flash. Flash is just a great means of storage, or actually creating large storage devices you can connect that are all flash. A lot of our mobile devices like tablets, smartphones, and so forth use flash in terms of memory. Alright, we did a word processing project in class. We did a couple things with the iPads in class. We're going to use those on Friday. And we'll continue on Friday with output, display, and input coming into the computer. I talk a little bit more detail about each of those. And that's it.